Okay, hey everyone, welcome. Hope your projects are going good. I've been hearing some good things, so that's nice. So I'm gonna talk about how to set up these nice Perforce scripts and the purpose of these. Why would you use these? They are optional, so they are by no means required to work in Perforce. Like you can work in Perforce without them. The problem is binaries. So in any, I'll just show you. See if I go to any Unreal thing. Yeah, so here in any Unreal project, you will have this binaries folder. And in these binaries, in the binary folder, you have these DLL files, right? And these are required to run the editor. So they contain, you know, all the compiled code from that you've done. Pretty simple. So when you're working in C++, you have to compile these binaries for the editor to run. The problem with that is that it becomes a little bit annoying to work with, because when you're working with code, you're gonna have to check out essentially the entire yeah, I'm recording. You have to check out essentially the entire binaries folder to be able to compile, because otherwise you get like the error on compile, couldn't access the DLL files. So you can have to check them out, and then you have to check them in when you're done working, just so that the designer and artist can actually start up the editor. Because if the designers and artists don't have these binaries, then they can't start the editor. The other solution is to have the designers and an artist download Visual Studio, so that they also have to compile. So every time they open up the U project, this is gonna come up like, oh, binaries out of date, and then they have to hit yes and compile it and everything. So it's kind of like either you have it where the binaries live on Perforce and you have to check them out every time you want to work and then push them in, or you ignore binaries, so you add like binaries to the P4 ignore, right? And then have everyone download Visual Studio and everyone had to build. And that's kind of where the batch files or the scripts would come into play then. Because in a big studio, or even a small studio like something at the Hazelight, the way you would solve this is that you would have a separate computer somewhere where all they're doing is just whenever a source file gets submitted, whenever there's like new source being written, it will recompile the binaries and then send them out to all the designers and artists. So all you had to do as a coder was just like code, compile, code, push code, and then the build computer would be like, oh, new code exists. So it will recompile the binaries and push them out to all the artists and designers. And that's like a build system. It's something like Jenkins. That's what that does.
So essentially you have to use like DevOps support or something.
Yes, exactly. And that is what a DevOps would work with, setting up those build systems to make sure they work nicely. And there's a lot more to it than just that, but that's one of the jobs of a build system. And that is to avoid this annoying part of like every coder has to check out binaries and make sure they push in the right version and everything, and it becomes really messy and hard. However, Future Games doesn't have a build computer. It doesn't have any sort of build system, because they are expensive and it take a lot of work to maintain. So this script file will sort of be a poor man's version of a build system, where instead of there being another computer that does the build for you, instead the script file will sort of handle that for you in a way. So that way you can work with binaries not having it checked out. So binaries, you won't have to check these out to work. Like they will just be local files on your computer. And but artists and designers will still be able to use get latest, and they will get the new correct binaries and you start the editor, and they don't have to worry about anything. Great. So how does it work? Well, or how do you use it? So the absolute easiest way to set this up, I will show you the easiest way to set it up. That is to make a new folder wherever you want your sort of workspace to be. wherever you want all your files to end up. So I'll make a new folder here called like ML FG GP2 G3. There we go. Perfect. So I make a new folder for Game Project 3. And then I will just unzip this. So here are all the batch files that included. I will just unzip all of these into this new folder that I made for GP3. And I have them here very conveniently. So I'll just move them there. So I made a new folder for my workspace where all the files will end up. And I put all of the scripts in there. So then what you do is that you just run this setup p4 file. So you just double click that. And you get this nice console window. And this will set up everything. And you'll have to configure it to work for you. So use some intro text, blah, blah, blah. All right, so the first thing you have to do is log in. So you have to provide sort of the credentials to be able to log into P4 so we can set up some new clients for you. Or some new workspaces. So I'm just provide. I used to have a server kind of running at home right now, but this will be your future game server. So I'm just gonna hit enter there. So if it is in this brackets here, then it means if you hit enter, that's gonna be the value. So it will be the default value if you don't enter anything. You may or may not have the right IP here. If you don't, just type it in. And it's gonna be your username. That's your Perforce username. So it's ML for me. I didn't set up a password for my server, but if you did, then you have to enter the password here. Okay. So now that you're logged in, no, not NUC, NUC. So now that you've done that, you have to enter which depot you want to work with. So this is your team's depot, right? So it will be in the form of like FG21 FT underscore GP3 underscore team, and then whatever the number is. Make sure you get this right. So it's like double check that you're typing in the right thing. So for example, for team 12, it would be like FG121, FG21 FT underscore GP3 underscore team underscore 12. Or for team 1, it would be 01. So just type in which team depot you want to work with. I don't have these set up. Maybe I should have done that, but mine is just called depot. Very easy. But that's not what you should write. All right. So after you've done that, you put in what you want to name your workspace. And it's not super important to know what a workspace is. Most likely, you'll just have one workspace, and that's gonna be it. What's important to remember about workspaces is that when you name them something, that's global. You've taken that name away from everyone else. So make sure to make them unique, something that includes your name. So not just GP3. It has to be something like ML underscore S underscore GP3 or something. So
Strug underscore GP3.
Sorry?
Strug underscore GP3.
Drag?
Strug.
Strug? Is that a joke? I get it.
Wait, seriously?
Ignore it and proceed.
Okay, I'll ignore. Okay, so I'll name mine MLS underscore GP3. You fist bumped across teams. That's awesome. And if you're working on multiple computers, it could be helpful to name them something like MLS GP3 desktop, and then MLS GP3 laptop, or home, or work, or something. Because again, these are global, so you can only have one workspace in all of Perforce. And only one per computer as well. You can't share a workspace between computers, so you need to have them be unique. But
sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. No
if
problem.
I already make a workspace in Perforce, will that screw this up?
That's a great question. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. No, you can reuse if you've already made a workspace for this project. Then feel free to reuse that. That's no problem at all. I would still
How would we reuse that?
just
Like
put in the
just
same name.
enter exactly same.
Yeah, exactly the same.
Okay.
So be careful. I would still.
I'm sorry for interrupting again, but like I
Yeah,
don't
no
understand. Are we supposed to create workspaces on Perforce and on here, or in just one place?
Yeah, just here. It will get
Okay.
made in Perforce. So when you enter into Perforce, you will be able to select this one. I would still put them in a new folder, even though if you already have a workspace, I would still recommend putting it in a new folder and then just getting latest. Just to avoid any collision, because there might be a little bit of a collision when you're starting using this script from not using the script. So I would recommend putting it in a new folder, setting it up, and then just getting latest to get the project back. Just to avoid that confusion. It's still completely possible it works, but it can be a little bit weird. Okay, so then we have a workspace name. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. If you already have one, you can use it. I will just make a new one. MLGP3 home. Sure, whatever. Boom. Okay, so now we selected the workspace. So when you're working later in Perforce, you're gonna use this workspace. Then we have a workspace root. And this is why I said the absolute easiest way to set this up is to put the files where you want the workspace to end up. Because then you don't need to enter anything here, you just hit enter. Because this will be the current directory if you don't put anything. So I just hit enter. But if you want to put this somewhere else, you can type it in here, like a normal path. Okay, here comes the slightly tricky part. So now we're on step 5, Unreal project root. So this is the folder where actually Unreal will end up. Actual Unreal project. So in 99% of cases, this is just gonna be the name of your project. Like if you make an Unreal project, you're gonna select, I want the project to end up here, and I want the project name to be my game, right? So then it will make a folder just called my game. If you're unsure, it's the folder where the .u project is located.
So it's the folder, but not the .u project itself.
Yes, exactly. It's just the folder.
Okay.
So in this case, I'm gonna name it my game. Let's just call it that. So I'll just put in my game. No slashes or anything, just my game. If you put the Unreal project right here, like you don't make a subfolder for the project, you just put it right there. You just hit enter. So then the dot will be the default then. So you slam enter. But yeah, I want
Hold on, I'm assuming that my game also has to match like the name of the folder that we already created with Unreal, right?
It has to, yes, exactly. If you
Okay.
already made an Unreal project, just put in what the folder name was. Okay, so I'm just gonna make an Unreal project called my game. Enter. And then here you choose if you want to become a coder or someone who wants to work with code, or if you're just interested in just working with the editor. So if you want to work with C++, that is, you want to change C++ code, you want to be able to compile it and run the editor through that way, then you hit 1. Or if you're just interested in just getting latest and starting the editor, then you hit 2. So I'm gonna say yes, I want to work with C++ here, so I hit 1.
Would you suggest some of the designers to at least have access, even though we don't really use C++ a lot?
Only if they want to.
Okay.
There's no gain otherwise.
Would there be any prerequisites if I choose that? Like I need to have X editor or?
You need to have Visual Studio, yeah. If you
Okay,
want to work
cool.
with code, you need Visual Studio.
Okay, cool.
Because you won't be
Thanks.
able to get the binaries from Perforce.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, just interrupt with any questions you have. Yeah, that's great. Perfect. Because it would have been nice to make this like a program or something instead of like a batch file. Would probably be nicer with some UX in there, but you know, I had the time I had. So a batch file it is. Okay, so now we're done. So we get this nice message here telling us how to do things. So now that we're done, we can just hit any key to just close this down. Boom. So we can see this P4 script here folder. This is just containing some files containing like what your Unreal root path was, what your some stuff that's needed later. So just save there. This isn't synced with Perforce, by the way. It's added to the ignore list, so you don't have to worry about that. So now we can go in and double check that it's actually been created. So I'm just gonna open up Perforce.
Can I interrupt and ask?
Absolutely.
So if we're setting up this for our team, so everyone in the team will have to run this setup file.
Yes, everyone in the team will run the setup, and it's just about hitting 1 or 2 if they want to be a coder or a something else.
Course.
All right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hop into this little drop down here, and then just click more workspaces. And then we can see our 2 ones, the one I made here, MLGP3 home, and then we have this _build. And that is used to push the binary. So we don't use this. This is not meant to be used by a human being. We want to use this one. So MLGP3 home, and it's created for us. So if you name it something else, it will be there. Hit OK. Yeah, so it seems to work. So the root, as we can see in the top one here, the top folder, you can see the root is where it's supposed to be. It's a D Perforce testing MLGP3. Perfect, because that's where I wanted it to be. So it seems to work fine. So now I can go ahead and just create my Unreal project if you don't have already made it. So if you have already created your project, you can just go ahead and get latest to fetch your project. But let's say I haven't yet. So let's say I'm starting up from scratch. I'm going to go and make an Unreal project. So let's start up Epic Games Launcher. It's been really slow for me lately, the Epic Games Launcher. Library. I mean, it doesn't matter which one you use. I'll use 4, sure. But it works for 5 as well. So I want to make a game. I'll just make it blank for now. I'll make it a C++ project. So now then, the location will be the workspace root. So that will be, where we ran the script files. So that will be the location. And then the name will then be whatever I put into the when I called setup P4. So whatever that, I don't remember. I think it was my game. So we sent my game here. Boom.
Emil, this is kind of a tangent, but like if we already have our project in Unreal created and whatever, do we still need to like redo the setup, or can we just apply the .bat file into a pre-existing Perforce thingy?
I'm not
like we
quite
already
sure
have a
what
work-
you mean. What do you mean?
Because like we already created a workspace yesterday. I mean on Friday.
Yeah.
And if we want to run this, does it work if so long as it hasn't been used on that particular workspace before, or do we have to create a new one necessarily?
No, you can use it on the same workspace.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All
And
right.
if you mess up, like you type something wrong, you just run it again. It's fine.
Okay.
So you can, if you want to change the name, you can just run it again and do something else. It's fine.
And also to make things clear, like this is the part where only one of us should make this project, right?
Yeah, exactly. So only one person creates the project and then pushes it up for everyone else.
Yeah.
But then everyone else has to like take the .bat file and run it.
Yes.
Okay.
So everyone runs the batch file, but everyone else just like run the bat file and then just go in and get latest, and they will get everything. So I'll just do nothing here. I'll just whatever. So the way that you push then is that you run this push binaries file here. And Actually, let's wait with that a little bit. Let's just push the rest of the project first. So I'm just gonna hit refresh. And now we have a my game here. So I will just mark for add. Boom. Just add everything. And as you can see, there's a lot of files that were ignored. So it will ignore like saved, intermediate. I don't think it actually ignores the derived data cache. Perhaps I should add that. I actually don't know. Maybe this is important. I don't know. Content will be pushed. Config will be pushed. And it will ignore binaries for us. So for us coders, or someone who works with code, binaries will not be pushed here. And also not the SLN file. So now I have all the important files that everyone needs to run the game. So I'll just push this. Let's call it initial project, baby. Submit. And then to actually push the binaries, I call this push binaries.batch file. So just run that. And there we go. So we'll just go through, add all of your binaries, and just push them up automatically.
When were we supposed to run the binaries bat?
Yeah, I'll that's a great question. I'll show you in a little while. I'm just gonna show you how to set up a design, and you'll see how that works. So let's say if I do a what's a common designer name? What is a designer usually called?
Emil.
Eric. Yeah, let's go, Eric. So here's Eric. He's very excited to start working with our game. So I'll do the same thing. He really only needs to set up P4. He doesn't need these two. So I'm actually just gonna copy that over because that's all he needs really. So he'll set it up the exact same way really. The only difference is he's gonna select that he does not want code. So he's gonna say the same IP. Well, it's gonna be a different username because his name is Eric, but I only have one user here, so he's gonna do his own credential. Depot name is gonna be the same thing. I'm just gonna type depot because that's what mine is called. His workspace is gonna be called Eric. His name is Ericsson, Eric Ericsson, and then GP3 desktop. That will be his name. Workspace root, same. And then again, the name of the project, of the Unreal project, my game. And then here, instead of hitting 1, I'm gonna hit 2. So this guy is not a coder, so I'm just gonna hit 2. And there we go. It's set up and ready. So now, if Eric goes in here, so this is Eric's workspace, he can use get latest. And there we go. Whoa. What are these? Oh yeah, these are my testing stuff. Don't worry about this. I forgot to remove those from the depot. This is the one that matters, okay? Yeah, so you can see he got all the binaries, he got all the config files and everything. So he can just go in and just run the editor without having to build anything. So there we go. Even though Eric doesn't have Visual Studio installed or anything, he can just run the editor and it just works. It just works, guys. It just works.
Very cool. Your program contains ignores for all of the folders that we don't need to push with Unreal, right?
Yes, exactly.
So what if we create our own P4 ignore? Are those going to clash somehow?
No, they will just get added to each other, I suppose.
Okay.
I think.
So we can still we can use your setup here,
Yep.
and then once we've done that, we can add our own P4 ignore with others, maybe fmod stuff or whatever.
Yes.
And then they would work together fine.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes, exactly.
Have you done for Visual Studios and Rider or just Visual Studios?
This works for both Rider and Visual Studio. Although I haven't tested with Rider, but it should work. If it doesn't work, then let me know. And
I have, and it works.
Okay, thank you. Very good. Yeah, okay, so now we have the project set up. And of course, if you've already made a project, then this is the step you will take, right? You will run setup P4, set up everything, and then you get latest, and then you'll get your project that you've already made. Right. So let's say I'm a coder then. I'm just gonna take off my designer hat and put on my coder hat, and we're gonna do some changes. I want to change something. So I'm a coder, right? So I will go in to some code file. I'll change the game mode, sure, in Notepad, of course. So I'll add a property to it. So I need to add a integer here. Int 25. There we go. Very important change. Whoops. I have to check it out. Whoops. Okay, so it's a little bit, I have to do a little bit of workspace juggling here because I'm acting as two people at the same time, but I guess I'm just gonna check this out. So when working with code, it's still the same rules apply as always. It's like you have to check out the code file, edit, and then, you know, push it. So, okay, I've added my int here to my game mode, so I'm just gonna push that, submit. Very important change to game modes.
So in Unity, we're able to like right click something version control, whatever. Is it the same thing in Unreal? Like if I have a blueprint or a class or whatever, can I just right click and do the perforce thingies from the editor as well?
From the editor, all content is automatically checked out as long as you have it set up with source control. Oh no. Here. So you can connect to source control here. Have you gone over this?
I think we have, but the last lecturer could not get that working, so we haven't like seen it in action. I believe.
Really? Okay, I can help you guys set this up if you want to. This is not really related to the script, but here, so I can select my MLGP3 home here. Accept. So now every time I save a file, it will check it out automatically. It only works for content though. For code, since you're working with Visual Studio, that's sort of outside the realm of it's outside the realm of Unreal. There are all plugins you can download to automatically check out code files when you're saving them or when you're editing them. What I usually like to do though is just make changes. Whoops, I skipped it on accident. Sorry. I'm so used to it. Like when I try to change it, it will come up like a little window here saying it's read only. So you can say like, oh hey, don't make it read only anymore. I want to make it writable. Okay, just make my changes. Very good code. I'm a good coder. And then what I do is just go into Perforce, right-click the source, and then just reconcile offline work. And it will find all of the writable files and check them out for you. This is sort of a hacker way of doing it. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. This is kind of outside the scope of the script anyway, but I mean, useful tips for how to work with Perforcing code. It's a little bit annoying.
Would you recommend us to sort of just check out the files manually in Perforce when we're changing them?
It's good practice to do it because then other people can see that you have them checked out as well, which is nice.
Yeah.
So then they see that you're working with it. Yeah. Okay.
But is there any particular danger with the reconcile offline thingy?
No, not really.
Okay.
It's just kind of no one sees that you're doing anything, and then suddenly you push 25 files just out of nowhere. It's like reconcile push. It's like, oh shit. Well, okay, I wasn't expecting that. But yeah, there's no real difference.
What happens if two people offline edit the same file, then do the reconcile thing?
The last person to push will have to merge.
Okay.
So it's like one person pushes, and then the other guy tries to push, but it will say like, hey, it's newer on the depot. You have to get latest, and you get latest, merge, and then push.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so no danger. Okay, so I made a cool change to my header here. This is not really related to the design or anything, but it's for coders or someone who wants to work with code. So I made a change here, very important. So then what I have to do so this is kind of the part where we are doing our own build server. Because if you were at a company, all you would have to do is just push the code, and a build server will get latest and build the new binaries and then push them, right? It would be very nice. However, this is where we need to be our own build server. Work from home. So the thing we do is that we make sure to select development editor. Because those are the binaries that art and design needs. They need these binaries. So we select those, and then we build.
Is it like the same thing with Writer? There's a development editor thingy?
Yes.
That you have to okay.
Same thing, Writer. There we go. Very annoying sound. Thank you, Unreal. Oh no, okay, so this is the problem, right? You see here that my DLLs, and you know, the fact that Unreal made a really annoying sound is a very good sign that something went wrong. The problem was that I had Unreal open, which means instead of building new binaries, building the development binaries, instead I made this patch file. You can see it's called like UE4 editor my game and then like 0001.dll. So this is a patch file. So that's bad. So what I have to do is actually shut down Unreal to actually make the correct binaries. There we go. So now I've built the correct binaries. So just shut down Unreal, select development editor and build. And that's it. After we've done that, head over into push binaries and just run it. Boom. And there we go. Now it's pushed the new binaries up. Ta-da! So easy. Guys, it's so simple.
This part was mostly for designers, right? The push binary stuff, or
that's this.
Or was it the opposite?
It's for coders to call it, but it's for the designer's pleasure. So you know, the designers and artists will just be able to get latest and be very happy.
Okay.
Do I have audio here?
Yes.
My mic. Okay, yeah. Do the designers or the artists have to do anything, or can they just push?
Yeah, you just push normally.
Regularly.
Yeah, there's nothing special for you guys. You just push and pull. So it's only the coders who take the hit here, but it's a nice hit.
But it's every time we change code, basically, we just have to rebuild the binaries.
Yes, every time you build code, every time you change code, you have to do this and push. Which is like, it's not different. Like, this would be what you would have to do anyway if you didn't use the script, right? If you didn't use the script, you would still have to do this. It would just be way more annoying.
Thank you, Emil, for making it less annoying for us.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully less annoying. It's still like, no problem. Hopefully it works well, and hopefully it doesn't cause. I just want it to be like kind of a one-time hit and then be out of the way. That would be my dream. Hopefully is what happens. But yeah. So I will be around. Just helping you guys set this up. So the files are where they are in Discord, and I will just like jump around to anyone who has any problems and help them set everything up. If you're unsure about something, it's like I'm unsure here what to put in this field, like don't hesitate to just grab me and I'll come and guide you through it, and make sure it works as good as possible. Cool. And that's it. Any last questions before we head off and do our awesome games?
What's the meaning of life, man?
Nothing. It's meaningless.
Bold take.
Well, yeah, it's a bold take. Yeah, you can quote me on that. All right, guys. Scuttle off to your groups. Have a great day. And yeah, ping me about anything, so I'll help out. Cool.
Thank you, Emil.
No problem.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See ya.